Welcome. In this video, we're going to discuss the query panel. One of the quickest ways to get there, while looking at the report here for sales and performance, you go to the data selection, and within here under the data access and data providers, you click on edit. So, the default display of the query panel consists of separate panels: the data outline, the results object panel, the query filter panel, as well as the data preview panel. Now I'm just going to go across the toolbar here. As you can see, this is obvious to add a query. Here's the show and hide the data outline panel. This is the show and hide the filters panel. This is the show and hide the data preview. This is the show and hide the scope of analysis panel. This is to add a combined query, which allows you to combine the data retrieved from more than one query using either union, intersection, or minus. And here you would define the different queries. You can add more than one. It's up to you. And you just hit the delete as selected to get rid of them. Let me put the data preview panel back. Now I'm going to go into the results object here. If you see here, this is to add a quick filter. This is to remove said filter and remove all. But to get the add quick filter, you have to actually have an object selected. And as you can see, there's that object for add a quick filter. And you can do remove all. There we go, all gone. Here in the queries filter panel, you can add a subquery. Allows you to run a subquery to restrict the data returned by the query, or add a database ranking, which allows you to use the database ranking feature to retrieve only top or bottom values from the database. And again, a remove and a remove all, similar to the one up here. Just to show you, this is to remove one. Oh, let me put 3. This would be to remove one. This is to remove all. So let's make a report real quick. Cost, profit, gross goods. Okay. Continuing across here, query properties. Here you type the name of your query. You can, whether it's query 1, 2, 3, or you just want to have a more relevant name. The universe field shows the universe you chose to create your query. Here in limits, max rows retrieved are the maximum number of rows of data that can be returned when a query is run. Max retrieval time is the maximum time that a query can run before the query is stopped. Sample result set is the option that allows you to retrieve a random sample of data with your query. You'd select the fixed option to retrieve the same values at each refresh, or clear the fixed option to change the values at each refresh. Still a sample set. Data retrieve duplicate rows. As in the database, the same data may be repeated over many rows. You can choose to have these repeated rows returned in a query, or have only unique rows returned. Retrieve empty rows, you can choose to include empty rows in query results. Under security, selected by default, this allows users who have the appropriate editing rights to edit the query and modify the data contained in the document. Prompt order. When you have applied multiple prompted query filters, you can define the order of the priority that they will appear to a user refreshing the document. Contexts, in a few cases, your universe structure may require you to specify a context for your report. In these cases, you receive a prompt to select a context, and your selection determines that data set returned by your query. And that's query properties. Coming over here to view script, just as it says here, this is the script for the SQL script for these selections up here. If you wanted to make a custom one, you can certainly copy this into an editor and make your own SQL if you choose. Coming down here to the Query Filters panel, Query Filters retrieve a subset of the available data. Based on the definition of the filter, restricting the query ensures that you retrieve only the data that interests you. This increases the usefulness of your reports. Using query filters have their advantages. You retrieve and are able to focus only on the data you want to answer a specific business question. You hide data you don't want specific users to see when they access the document, and you minimize the quantity of data returned to the document to optimize performance. Some universes have predefined filters built into them by the universe designer. Other times, you will want to create your own filters to limit the query or limit the data. So let me drag one of these options down here. Well, let's choose. So as you can see, I'm just going to skip here real quick to the data preview. As you can see, we see a number of data points for sales. Great. Now I'm going to select a filter for city. Query filters are made up of three parts: the object you want to filter, the operator, the relationship between the object and the operand, and the operand, the object values to be used for filtering. Now, as you can see here, in the operator, you have multiple options: in list, not in list, equal to, greater than, between, matches pattern, a plethora of options. Over here, you can select whether you want a constant value, values from a list, or prompted values. So let's say we wanted to go with just Berlin. Hit refresh. As you can see, we just have the value for Berlin. Let's say I want it from a list of values. You could select that. And for cities, it'll come up here with the options. I am going to choose Rio and Medellin. Click OK. Data refresh. And as you can see, we have new values. Now let's say we wanted to do a prompted filter. Prompted filters allow multiple users viewing a single document to specify a different subset of data and display it in the same tables and charts in the report. Users can answer the prompt either by typing or by selecting values. You cannot use the operator is null, not null when creating prompted filters. So right here, this was the operand I chose to be able to get to prompts. After you select the prompt operand, click the parameter properties button between the prompt text field and the operand button to open the parameter properties dialog box where you can define query filter settings. The prompt text, you'd want to type the text that you want to prompt the user to select a value. This text appears each time the document is refreshed. Prompt with list of values, you'd select it if you want the option to display all the values for the object and allow the user to select from those values. Select only from list. Select this option to prevent users from typing values that do not exist in the database. Keep last values selected option displays by default the values selected at the previous refresh. The user can change the value or refresh using the previous selected values. And optional prompt You'd select this to allow users to refresh the document without responding to the prompt or by responding only partially to the prompt. When the user does not respond to the prompt, the query filter is not applied to the data at all. And here you would set default values. And in this selection, to determine the default values that appear in the prompt. So let's start with some selections here. Enter your city. I'm going to click OK. Enter your city. I hit refresh, and here we go. I have the options to select my city. So let's choose Barcelona and Bangkok. Click OK. And here, as you can see in my data preview, it has changed. So coming back here, let's uncheck Keep Last Value Selected. Hit refresh. As you can see now, there's a new option here, or it's blank. And I can type in my values if I'd like to. Let's go with London and Madrid. I click OK. And there it is. Coming back, I'm going to unselect this. Click OK. Hit refresh. Looks like I have to know what city I'm looking for. And let's type in York. Click OK. And here we go. Go back to this option here. I am going to prompt with a list of values, but not give them an option to type it in. But make it optional. Click OK. Refresh. As you can see, if I refresh here, they can have all the list of options, but it's optional, so I'm just going to click OK. And now I get everything. And now let's select Set Default Values. I would want it to be Mexico. Well, let's do New York. Click OK. Click OK. Hit refresh. Oh, it's already prompted and selected for me. That's very nice. But you know what? I don't want New York. I actually want Mexico. Click OK. And now I have it for Mexico. And these are all the features you can have up here. With close, you can either do apply at your changes or revert changes and close. And that's the query panel.